talking about these, the three projects you all are doing, which are all artistically ambitious and intellectually challenging, one of the things that has struck me since starting this beat about a year ago is I think I expected that there would be a lot more sort of aesthetic snobbery in the theater world, and that there would be people who worked on those kinds of projects and people who worked on more popular entertainment. And yes, all three of you are in different ways also involved with popular culture. You worked on Shrek, you've done a series of projects with Disney, you're on The Walking Dead. Are those just financial decisions, or do they like feed some kind of other aspect of your creative hunger, or how do you simultaneously do these very different kinds of projects?
Well, actually, I mean, funnily for me, I mean, I was thinking about that earlier because it's funny, a lot of my Walking Dead cast and producers came and saw Eclipsed, and they said something that I felt when I first auditioned for The Walking Dead, which was, they were like, oh, this plays like our show. And I was like, it really kind of is. Like, it's the same thing. It really functions on the same premise, which is why, I was, I was, of course, an artist just trying to make it and trying to pay my bills and everything. But, I still was very picky about, when you sign that 7-year contract, like who you do that with, and there were times I had turned some things down because I was like, that's a cop show. I can't be a cop for 7 years, no offense. I can't do it, But like coming across this particular project, The Walking Dead, I was like, I just got sucked in. I was like, I started to watch it. I was a scaredy cat. I'd never watched anything scary. I just like, why do I want to be scared? Too much of a control freak for that. But the watching it, I just got completely hooked. And what hooked me in, not only because the actors on the show were amazing, and a lot of them turns out are also from theater, but also the stories were so richly told. But also there was a premise in there that I was like, this feels like when I wrote Eclipsed, which was, if the world got this dire, who would you become? You're not going to be who you are today. And I was like, that's exactly what got me totally hooked into writing Eclipsed and putting stories of voices that you never hear in front of people and saying you're going to be one of these 5 women in some way, shape, or form, a little bit. You got to see a bit of yourself in here, even though these women are so separate from who you think about daily. And so watching The Walking Dead and coming across this particular character who was at that time only on the comic book page, and I was like, who is this? Dreadlocks, a sword, and very much not who she was before this whole world changed. I was like, she felt like the women I researched who became rebel fighters. And so that really got me hooked in. And then, thank God, it's an amazing environment to be in, to create in. I mean, people are there, talk about egos being left at home. Like, people are there to, of course, helmed by the astounding Andy Lincoln. Like, he helms it in a way where it's just about the creative, it feels like nonprofit theater, like it's just about that creative energy being protected and people being celebrated and encouraged. And thank God for that, because, we're running around in the woods for real in Georgia in July and getting bit by ticks. It's all really happening. And
it has a great pop-up book.
Yeah, I saw that, actually. It's really cool.
Have you seen that pop-up book?
It's crazy.
Oh, it's...
Yeah, I have to say, I said this to you when we started working on Eclipse, it feels even more specifically that your project of working on women's relationship to violence and self-protection and how empowerment through violence is literally a double-edged sword, and how to work I'm a Walking Dead fan. And it just feels like I'm watching you work that project as an actress, and I'm watching you work that project as a writer, and that feels like a beautiful thing.
Thank you.
I think the high-low, I don't know, I got on a plane once and I had Aristotle and Danielle Steele. And the stewardess said, who are you? And I was like, I'm both. I always feel like if I'm going to go down a fiery crash, I want to be reading trash, but I really want to understand how I feel, so I'm reading the poetic. I think that the thing that I love, I've seen all of their works. I was just down, I saw Hamilton in the workshop stage, and right at the end of the act, when the actors came back into the second act, I stood up in this really totally ridiculous way, remember?
Yeah.
It was so...
You don't forget when Jeanine Tesori stands up at the top of your act and you haven't done anything yet.
I know. I do have to just say one thing, that Lin-Manuel is wearing Sunday in the Park socks, and we just haven't talked about it, but...
Wow.
Bernadette Peters, right around the ankle. And the way that I felt about Eclipsed, which was just so amazing to me, it pulled my spirit back. There's this sense of play, and everybody, when I work with Oskar, when I work with George or Tony, anybody, there are these people who want to come into play. And I think you have to have that sense that, you're a Nintendo. What's the play thing that you have? What do you do?
PS3?
Yeah, the PS3. I mean, I think you had bunk beds in the Heights, right?
I had a top bunk bed.
Okay, but I think that's the thing, is that we don't lose, we're all nesting dolls, and we don't lose the sense of who we were. I think that's one of the reasons I've figured out a lot of people who are artists, they keep that sense alive of who they remember themselves to be at a really young age. I mean, I played the Garbage Pail Kids theme when I gave Lin-Manuel one of his 50 awards that he's getting at the moment.
You have to explain that. That makes no sense.
Okay. Lin wrote a theme, the first thing he wrote, which his parents recorded, was the Garbage Pail.
There was a song I wrote when I was 5. I found it on the back of a Fisher-Price tape called The Garbage Pail Kids Are in Town.
And it just won a Grammy also, I'm just saying. But really, it's got such, at not even 4 years old, there's this sense, and I thought, oh, that's where he is. This sense of rhythm and fun and all of those things, and I thought, oh my God, it's like we are and we were at the same time, if you're lucky enough to be able to do something to keep those things alive. And when I was watching the play at Eclipsed and the way that all these women were represented, I thought, I bet that's all of her there. The way that it's displayed, this peacock-like spectrum of these women. It was amazing to watch both of these artists at work.
Yeah, it's funny. Today is Leap Day, and I also noticed it's Saul Williams' birthday. Saul Williams is one of my favorite poets. And in my brain, I went, of course he's 10 years old. Because he's so connected to that thing in his writing. Yeah. He's connected to sort of everything within himself, but I think we all aspire to that, and I think that's what people are responding to about Hamilton, is that there is no differentiation between, like the way you put the question, there's no snobby aesthetic at work. It's whatever works to tell the story, whether that's a Run DMC reference or it's a Macbeth reference. There's no high and low at all. It's whatever serves the story. And I think I get a lot of questions about cultural baggage, but I don't get a lot of cultural baggage in the theater from the audience. It's more often than not, it's just, I didn't know that, or I didn't know about this genre of music, and now I know this. But there's something about this story being told this way that connects dots for people that wouldn't have connected them otherwise, because they've got cultural baggage attached to hip-hop music or musical theater music or American history in general. But by sort of throwing the kitchen sink at it, you scramble them so they can just sit back and enjoy the ride.
Or I would actually put it even a little more grandiosely than that.
Of course you would. That's your job, the enthusiast.
No, but, because it's also, I have to say, it's one of the core ideas behind the public theater, which is it's a big tent, and all of this stuff belongs here. The musicals belong here, the experimental theater belongs here, the new plays belong here, Shakespeare belongs here. We're not separate categories. We're all part of one big theater community, which is an analogy for saying when we watch Hamilton, part of the thrill is going, oh yeah, we are one country. Oh yeah, hip-hop does belong next to American history. Oh yeah, musical theater is, all of that, it belongs together because we really are one. We aren't separated in that way. And I think the sort of almost atavistic response that audiences have to it is they're feeling reflected back to them their whole country. They're suddenly being told, you're part of the whole country. You're not one part of it. And we are so hungry to believe that right now, and for progressives, which is the most political thing I'll say tonight. I'm a progressive. For progressives, we're so hungry to feel patriotic. We're so hungry to actually remember what the promise of America is. And suddenly there it is.
Yeah,
I was.